When y'all think of frog fishing, I can probably guarantee you what you think about when you hear the word, somebody says they're on a frog bite. You're probably thinking big bait cast gear, 50-pound braid, heavy action rod, some type of 3/8 to half ounce frog, be it popping or walking. That's not what we're going to talk about today. What I would like to help you or introduce you to is a more finesse style of hollow body frog fishing that I've fallen in love with for the past 5 or 6 years. Caught fish on it today, got to thinking about it. Let's show people how I do it. If you've been thinking about doing it, want to know what works for me, we're going to talk about it. So, I wanted to try to catch my first frog bass of the year today on March 30th. March 30th. A little early, but the temperature's been doing this. We're gonna give it a shot. So, I wanted to start with my small setup before we slid over to the big frog later in the year, just to try to get some bites. So that's what we're gonna talk about. The frogs that I'm talking about, if I can get this one to behave, are 1/4 ounce hollow bodied frogs. These are not your big fellas. These are not your heavy walking, popping frogs. These are small, finesse, hollow bodied frogs. Same design, same hook type, the double hook type, coming up the back with the legs. Same overall structure, just shrunk a little bit. And fished, in my mind, the same way in pretty much the same locations, but in my head, it opens up a lot more options to me because personally, I think bass see more frogs this size than the great big ones kicking around at the edge of the lake or in ponds. And I also think that this provides an easier target than those great big frogs. So I think you'll get more bites frog fishing this way than you might with the original standard larger bodied frogs. To that end, I started with this frog today just to give it a shot, and it worked. What I do, what I have dialed in over the past 5 to 6 years is, believe it or not, I fish it on a spinning combo. This is a short, stout, stubby 5.5 foot medium action rod. It's short because I can keep making accurate casts in tight cover with my frog. Here, where we fish in North Carolina and Virginia, I don't have giant pad fields or huge stands of eelgrass or hydrilla to walk a frog over. When I'm frog fishing, I'm targeting structure, mostly wood, if not emergent grass, little patches here and there, or even boat docks and things like that. Stumps, steep banks where there's some overhang, anywhere that I think they're gonna attack a terrestrial creature near the bank. And I wanna catch them on top water. So I have more control over this small frog with the spinning setup. You can absolutely do it with a bait caster. It's only a 1/4 ounce. And where that comes into play is the line. You can throw this on heavy mono. I wouldn't go any lighter than 15. I think you're gonna be snapping line with how your hook set has to be. If you go to 15, even on a medium action bait cast reel, this frog's not gonna throw that accurate. He's just so light. He's light, he's hollow, he's going to catch air. And if you go to mono, 15, maybe 17, I think you're gonna lose your casting accuracy. Having said that, I took a 5'8" medium, little short spinning rod and stuck a full-size fluger on it. It's an old President. So I could put 20 pound straight braid to my frog. When I lay back on this frog, I don't have to worry about it. The rod tip on this medium, even though it's short, has enough flex that I can pull the frog into the fish's mouth and keep my drag decently tight so that I don't miss a good strong hook set. I have not had a situation where this 20 pound Power Pro braid has snapped on me. It just has worked for me. I set this whole combo up because I have so much confidence and so much fun with these little frogs. This whole combo is set up just for this. It comes out now in late spring, and it doesn't go up to the back of the corner until late September, early October, because I really, really love frog fishing, and I have really come to love finesse hollow-bodied frog fishing. That just sounds wrong to say it out loud, finesse frog fishing, but that's really what it is. So retrieve is just as similar as you would with your big frog. You're gonna throw it up near cover, and if you need to stay in cover and not swim away from it, you can walk it in place just like a big one. Or if you need to cover a bank parallel or down a log or what have you, you can walk him with a chin slap just like you can these big ones. And it's a lot of fun when they come up and murder this little frog and they're like 13 inches. They got the whole frog in their mouth and just go bananas on it, and it's a 13-inch bass because they can take it down. The frog I was using today was a Booyah Pad Crasher Jr. in just their regular green frog color. I'll show you a few more of my babies I've got here. Back in the day, Academy had their own little micro frog for a little bit of nothing. It's very similar. I think they kind of hopped up on the Pad Crasher mini kick back in the day. Very similar. The hook's a little thinner. It's a little less stiff hook, but the frogs work great. If you can find them. I honestly don't know if they still sell them, but that was a great option for anybody trying to play with the finesse frog game because they're a lot cheaper. I think they were like $3 or $4. The Pad Crasher Juniors are my favorite by Booyah. I think they're about 7, maybe 7.5, depending on where you look for them at. I think Tackle Warehouse actually has a 4-frog combo pack of these Pad Crasher Juniors for like 21 bucks. So that's a good deal, depending on how much you want to get involved. There are a couple other ones. Spro actually did make a baby popping frog. I like it okay. It just behaves a little different than the Pad Crasher, which has that normal boat keel shape, whereas the popping Spro is a lot flatter, if you can see that. So I'd have to learn how to fish him for a few minutes before I got good with him if I switched from one of these boat keel style smaller frogs. Also, Booyah does have a popping Pad Crasher Jr., just like their popping Pad Crasher frog. And he's very similar to the boat keel style, but he's got a small popping mouth up front. Can't say where I found where it matters, but most of the time, the action and the size of the frog, I think, are the key. So, play around with them, see which one you like fishing the most and how you can talk to it a little bit and get it to do what you want it to do. Personally, I think a great place to start is a Pad Crasher Junior from Booyah in a couple different colors, black, white, green, and you're probably okay. You can mix those up and see they have a yellow one. It's going to stand out in more stained tannic water. And of course, I was throwing the natural one today because we were in pretty clear water. Black's always great. I feel like black's one of those colors that almost works anytime, to be honest with you, because a lot of stuff in nature is black. But anyway, I wanted to talk this through real quick. If you were going to go get started, you know, get a 6-foot medium, something like that. You can go bigger, guys, but you need to be able to cast accurately. And the longer the rod you fool with, the more you're cutting back on your accuracy with your casts. You know, we're skipping these frogs up under overhanging tree limbs. I'm having to sidearm, you know, to get this bait into a tight nook, maybe under a dock. So I'm not hucking this thing 30 yards and working it across a pad field or anything. You know, I'm driving this thing in and around stumps and laydowns and things like that, up on the bank. And I know if I skip it, I'm not gonna backlash, spinning reel. I know if I have one blow up on it and I hit the fish pretty hard, the rod's gonna take what it takes, and then the 20-pound Power Pro is gonna do the rest. Usually I'll hit one fish first in the morning or whatever in a trip, and then that'll tell me if my drag was good or not. If you're catching normal size fish on this from a pound up to 2 or 3 pounds, normal, you can set your drag accordingly where it will slip when they pull. If you don't want something to go wrong or you pull too big of a hole into the fish's mouth with that. Obviously, you can adjust your drag in the fight. You know, once you start feeling that fish pull down, if you think, oh, my drag should be slipping, you know, you can go ahead and adjust it in fight. And get some good braid. I don't think I would go to 15. You can. It might be okay. I would honestly, with how good and thin they're making the braid now, guys, I would start at 20. I have not had any problem with 20 with casting, with the action of the bait, and with popping 5 to 6 pound fish on it. And all that'll come in what rod you choose and what reel. Usually, the bigger up the size of the spinning reel you go, the better the drag and the drag washers that actually create the drag of your reel. I wouldn't go to a small reel. I know with 20-pound braid, you could go to a much smaller setup. I wouldn't do it. I would start at about a 25 or 30 size reel and go up. I wouldn't go little. I mean, that's the floor. You want a normal reel like you're gonna throw 10-pound, 12-pound fluorocarbon on for jerkbait, floating worm, fluke, that kind of stuff. We're not going to an ultralight spinning reel just because these frogs are little. No. Get a reel that'll be big enough to have the drag washers you need to stop a 5-pounder and get a hook in his mouth, because it's potentially going to happen if you really start getting comfortable and get in an area where these little frogs work, especially right now, between now and the end of May, because all the big females will be shallow, and you never know when one of them is going to be under your frog this time of year that's bigger than you thought. So, to wrap it up, I mean, a shorter spinning rod, a little bit stiffer. I like a medium because it gives me control with the rod tip over the bait with the cast and the retrieve and the fight of the fish at the boat, but enough backbone to pull that frog, that hook, into the top of the fish's mouth. A reel that will hold 20-pound Power Pro braid and enough drag strength to do the job. And then honestly, if you buy 3 frogs, a black one, a white or yellow one, and a green one, you're off and running. You can go do this. And like I told my buddy last year, year before last, if you want to learn how to frog fish, you got to fish it. you gotta quit reaching for your fluke or your Ned rig or your wacky rig Cinco or your whopper plopper. If you want to learn how to frog fish, you have to throw it. And once you get it down and you figure out while you're looking down the bank, your mind starts telling you to reach for your frog, you're ready. You're ready. It's a fun bite, guys. It's easier to get this fun bite with a little piece of candy frog than it is the big cheeseburger frog. So if you just want to have a good time and try to go put a frog in a fish's mouth, this is the way to do it. If you have any questions at all, I don't mind answering them. It's not that hardcore. It's easy to do. Once you have the setup and a handful of frogs, you just got to go do it. Go find you a place that looks fishy and froggy and throw it. And wait 2 seconds before you set the hook, if you can. I know I'm bad about it too, about setting the hook as soon as I see the blow up, but have enough time to react to the bite and then let it eat. I hope y'all start frog fishing. If you're already frog fishing, good for you. If you're just getting into it, ask me anything you need and I'll try to help you best I can. Go do it, have some fun. Here's to some big blow ups this season. Thanks, guys.